Dr. Phyllis Collins of DietHobby.com. Some of you know me as the YouTube Grandma. And today I'm going to make my holiday coconut pineapple cake. This is a full-fat cake, not a low-calorie recipe. This is something my mama used to make for holidays when I was young. And I picked it up and made the same thing. And here it is Christmas. I'm going to make it too. And 1/15 of this piece of cake is 370 calories. And that's quite a bit, but a same kind of a piece of like chocolate cake with chocolate icing would maybe be 500. So it's a little less, but it's still very rich and very good. And one of my holiday favorites I'm going to share with you. Okay, and remember, you can have low-calorie things, you can have high-calorie things, but if you have to fit them all together into your budget. If you eat something like this that I'm going to make today, it's a special treat, and you have to make up for it by eating things that have less calories to make up for it. Okay, so I'm going to start out by just making it's a yellow cake mix. All I do is make it according to the package instructions. I've already mixed it up, and now I'm just going to pour it out into the pan. It's just a regular yellow cake mix, and just like the package says to make it. Now this is going to go in the oven at 350 degrees, just like the package says, for about 30 minutes. So you're making just a regular cake mix. Any brand is fine, but it needs to be yellow. Well, it probably could be another color, but anyway, yellow is what I use. Okay, so while that's cooking in the oven, we are going to make our syrupy topping, our pineapple syrupy topping that's going to go on this cake. It's a very sweet cake, full of sugar, real sugar. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a can of crushed pineapple in its own juice and pour it into a pan. And by the way, I sprayed this pan with nonstick coating. Now we've got a cup of white sugar. We're going to dump a cup of white sugar with that. Okay, now I've got the burner on high, and I'm going to bring this to a boil. I'm just going to be boiling this pineapple and sugar together to form a syrup. So when it boils, it'll be ready. I don't have to boil it till it becomes candy or anything. I'm just going to boil it till it's ready. And it has to be stirred constantly until it comes to a boil. And then after it comes to a boil, I turn off the burner and set it aside and wait for the cake to come out of the oven. So I'll be back when that happens. Okay, I have got the cake still baking in the oven, and I have brought the pineapple and sugar mixture to a rolling boil. Now, the next step that I can do now, or I can do it later, but I've already done it, so I'll tell you about it now, is you take a cup of coconut, and it's just a sweet regular coconut. You take a cup of coconut and you sprinkle it out on a cookie sheet, like a baking pan, and in a thin layer all over the baking pan. And then you put it in the oven at 350 degrees because you're going to toast it. And what you do is you put it in the oven in a thin layer, and then you kind of do this, stirring it around, watching it in the oven. Because it doesn't toast evenly, you have to do this to make it toast evenly. And it seems like, I don't know how long it takes. It seems like it takes an awful long time, but you have to watch it really closely because when it does happen, it happens real fast. And I didn't time it, and I've never timed it, and my recipe doesn't tell me, so I don't really know how long it takes. But you put it in the oven on 350. Probably it's a while before it starts doing it. So then when you see little bits of it turning brown, you take a little spatula or something and you just stir it up and stir it around like this, and then you just keep it in the oven until it comes out like this. And this is how it's supposed to look. It's toasted coconut. This is going to go on top of the whole cake after we're all finished. So that step I've done ahead of time, and it's all finished. But you could do it while the cake is refrigerating, or you could do it before you start, whenever you want, but toasted coconut should be cooled, finished and cooled before you put it on your cake. The camera wasn't running when I did this step. And I can't do it again because I've already done the whole thing. So I'm just going to tell you what I did on this step. I took the cake out of the oven and I brought it here. Then I got a fork and I punched holes all in the cake. Lots and lots of holes in the cake. Then I took my pineapple and sugar syrupy mixture that I had brought to a rolling boil and had cooled down, and I poured it all over this cake. Syrup and all, just poured it there. Then I set it aside and I made some pudding. Vanilla sugar-free pudding is what I use because that's what I have and that's what the calorie count is based on. And I used lactate milk because that's what 2%, which is what I had. And how I made that was I poured 2 cups of milk, I put it in my blender. I opened this package, I poured it in my blender. I blended it all up because it's instant pudding. And then I took it here and I took my instant pudding before it got solid and I poured it all over this cake. Then, after it was all over this cake, I put the cake into the refrigerator. The next step is when I bring it out of the refrigerator, and you get to see that one. I'm back with a holiday coconut pineapple cake. You saw what we did. Here's what it looks like now that the pudding is all solid and the pineapple and the cake are all meshed together. There's only one more step, and that's Cool Whip. This is just regular Cool Whip. It's what I had in the freezer. You can use various kinds, but this is just normal regular Cool Whip. And you take Cool Whip and you spread it all on top. This is a 370 calories for 1/15 of this cake. It's a special holiday treat if you like pineapple and you like coconut and you like cake. Then you might like this because I do. Okay, so we're just going to take this and spread it all on like it were an icing. Now, as far as storing this cake, you know, I always store my leftovers, and I've got tips and tricks on how to store cake because you can actually store this cake in a very easy way in individual servings where you could just pull it out. I mean, for months. You can have it months later, just one piece at a time for yourself or your family. Look at my tips and tricks for storing cakes. I did it with a carrot cake, but it's very, very similar. You really, it's really a valuable tool. So here's a Cool Whip. Now we're going to take the toasted coconut and I'm going to sprinkle this whole cake with a 1 cup of toasted coconut. It is my Christmas treat. We are having this for a Christmas treat, and I'm going to eat a whole 370 calories of it, and I'm going to eat a lot less of everything else to make up for it because I'm looking forward to this. And when I'm done, my husband and I, when we're done, when there's food, there'll be some left over, and it's going to get stored in individual serving sizes. Okay, so I get to taste it. And we're cutting in 15 pieces. 15 pieces is 5 times 3. So I'm going to cut it into 15 pieces. I'll show you how much a piece is supposed to be. That's 370 470 calories. Now, if it were a chocolate cake with chocolate icing, it might be about 500 for the same size piece, depending on how rich it is. Okay, so I'm going to serve a piece up. Well, this won't be the piece that I take a picture of, but it'll be the piece I taste. Let's get another one for me to take a picture of. There. Okay. This is how it looks. It's really, really moist, and it's really, really tasty if it tastes the way I remember. It tastes the way I remember. Come and see me, diethobby.com.